These bikes are fast. They're beautiful. They're the reason we all daydream at work. But they share one thing that can wreck your wallet faster than you can hit redline. Today, we're talking about 10 motorcycles that will bankrupt you with maintenance. Number 10, BMW HP4 Race. The HP4 Race isn't just a motorcycle, it's a factory superbike you can actually buy. Carbon fiber frame, carbon wheels, and over 200 horsepower out of the crate. But here's the kicker. BMW designed this bike to live on the racetrack, not the street. And like any true race bike, it comes with a race bike maintenance schedule. Every 5,000 kilometers of hard use, BMW recommends a full engine refresh. That's not an oil change. That's splitting the cases, replacing bearings, rods, and sometimes pistons just to keep it healthy. And the price? Owners report rebuild costs that can easily climb into 5 figures. That's before you even factor in consumables like race slicks, pads, and chains that wear out at light speed. Even routine service like valve checks and gearbox inspections are major jobs. This isn't work your corner shop is doing over the weekend. If you're tracking this bike seriously, you're either a sponsored racer or you have the kind of disposable income that makes an HP4 Race look like a toy. But man, when it's running right, there's nothing like it. It's the purest, most uncompromising superbike experience money can buy, and then buy again every few months. And speaking of bikes that blur the line between race machine and road bike, let's talk about the Italian stallion that might just be even more demanding. Number 9, Ducati Panigale V4 R. This bike is pure Italian theater, a 998 cubic centimeter V4 that revs to the moon, sounds like a MotoGP machine, and looks like it belongs in a museum. It's also one of the most track-focused homologation bikes Ducati has ever sold to the public, but owning one is like signing up for a very expensive hobby, whether you like it or not. Here's where the pain begins, the Panigale. V4R has a desmo valve system that demands regular valve clearance checks. Ducati recommends doing this every 15,000 miles or 24,000 kilometers, but track riders report needing to do it sooner, and each service can cost $1,500 to $2,000 depending on where you live. Skip it, and you risk catastrophic engine damage. And then there's the clutch. The V4R comes with a dry clutch, which sounds amazing, like marbles in a coffee can, but it also wears faster and is expensive to replace. You could be looking at $1,000 plus for a clutch pack if you're hard on it. Don't forget the tires. This bike eats through slicks like candy. A dedicated track rider could go through a fresh set every 3 to 4 sessions. That's easily $500 to $700 a weekend just in rubber. And just like the HP4 Race, many Panigale V4R owners also opt for upgraded electronics and exhaust systems to unlock the bike's full potential, adding another few $1,000s to your total investment. So, yes, you'll be grinning ear to ear every time you hit that 16,500 RPM redline, but your wallet will be crying every time you schedule a service appointment. It's the definition of a love-hate relationship. And if you think modern Ducatis are expensive, let's rewind to the 90s, when the 916 family redefined superbikes and introduced a whole new era of wallet-busting maintenance. Number 8, Ducati 916, 996, and 998. Ducati's 916 family is legendary, a rolling piece of motorcycle history designed by Massimo Tamburini. The 916, 996, and 998 didn't just win WSBK titles, they defined what a superbike should look like for decades. But owning one today means signing up for constant attention and meticulous care. These bikes run Ducati's Desmo engine, meaning desmodromic valves that need adjustment every 12,000 miles. That's a full day's labor for a trained tech and a $1,000 to $1,500 bill if done correctly. And then there's the infamous timing belts. They must be replaced every 2 years, regardless of mileage. Skip it, and you're one belt snap away from piston to valve contact and a destroyed top end. Because these bikes are now over 20 years old, many have aging electrical systems. Corroded connectors, failing fuel pumps, and ECU issues are common, and parts aren't always on the shelf, which means hunting eBay or specialty Ducati forums. Consumables add up fast too. Dry clutches that rattle like a bag of rocks and wear faster than wet ones, high-end tires, and frequent fluid changes. Some owners even buy special tools just to do basic maintenance because the bikes require Ducati-specific gear. Still, nothing beats the sound, feel, and presence of a 916/996/998 in full song. It's one of the most rewarding bikes you can own if you're willing to treat maintenance as a ritual. But if you think Ducati maintenance is demanding, wait until you meet the bike that's just as beautiful, but even more temperamental. Number 7. MV Agusta F4. The MV Agusta F4 is a piece of rolling art. Designed by Massimo Tamburini, the same man behind the Ducati 916. It's a motorcycle that could sit in a museum and still look futuristic, but that beauty comes at a brutal price. Valve checks are due every 7,500 miles, but the job isn't simple. Getting to the valves means stripping the bike nearly to the frame, a multi-hour labor marathon. Owners regularly share invoices north of $1,100 just for the inspection, with adjustments pushing the total even higher. Electronics on early F4s can also be finicky. Dashboards fail, sensors throw errors, and the bike's cooling system needs constant attention to avoid overheating in traffic. Parts availability can be tricky, and waiting weeks for something as small as a water pump isn't unheard of. And then there's the riding experience. The F4 runs hot, is geared tall, and begs to be ridden fast, which means you'll go through high-performance tires and premium fluids quickly. Even oil changes are pricier than average, thanks to MV's recommended fully synthetic lubricants. Owning an F4 is like dating a supermodel. Gorgeous, intoxicating, but emotionally and financially exhausting. And if you think the F4 is a handful, its smaller siblings take that Italian drama and add even more quirks. Number 6. MV Agusta F3 and MV Brutale 800. MV's triples, the F3 Supersport and the Brutale 800 Street Fighter, promise a more approachable experience than the F4. They're lighter, cheaper, and easier to live with day to day. But they still carry that boutique Italian baggage. Valve clearance checks come every 12,000 miles, but owners report that shims often need swapping sooner, especially if the bikes are ridden hard. The job is labor-intensive and usually runs $800 to $1,200. Then there's reliability. Early F3s were notorious for fueling issues and stalling problems that required software updates or ECU replacements. Sensors and electronics can still be fragile, and when they fail, parts often have to be shipped from Italy, meaning your bike could be parked for weeks. Even basic maintenance can be pricey. Chain and sprocket kits, high-quality tires, and frequent oil changes add up. And because these bikes beg to be thrashed, whether on a canyon road or a track day, you'll be burning through consumables faster than you expect. The payoff? A screaming triple soundtrack and some of the sharpest handling in the class. Just know that the smiles per mile come with a bill attached. And if Italian quirks weren't enough, let's look at a bike that mixes superbike performance with superbike-sized maintenance costs. Number 5. Aprilia RSV4. Aprilia's RSV4 factory is widely considered one of the best handling superbikes on the planet. It's a bike that can make an average rider feel like a pro, and a pro feel like a god. But keeping it in top shape is a financial workout. The RSV4's 65-degree V4 engine is a masterpiece, but it's also notoriously complex. Valve clearance checks are due every 12,400 miles and can cost upwards of $1,200 to $1,500. And because Aprilia parts aren't as widely stocked as Ducati or BMW components, wait times can stretch into weeks, meaning you're paying for downtime too. And let's talk electronics. Aprilia's APRC suite is phenomenal. Traction control, wheelie control, launch control, all adjustable on the fly. But when one of those sensors or ECUs fails, and they do, prepare for a $500 to $1,000 bill just to get your bike behaving again. This bike also has a reputation for eating through rear tires faster than most litter bikes. With that ferocious torque and sublime chassis, it begs to be ridden hard, and that means you'll be replacing Pirelli Supercorsas constantly. And then there's the maintenance intervals for fluids. The RSV4 likes its oil fresh and frequent. Skipping an oil change is a bad idea, and synthetic oil plus high-quality filters aren't cheap. All of this makes the RSV4 factory a bike that will keep you in the garage almost as often as it keeps you on the road, unless you have deep pockets and a very patient mechanic. But if you think Aprilia is expensive, wait until you see what Norton cooked up with bikes so exotic they make Aprilia look reliable. Number 4. Norton V4SS and V4SV. Norton's V4SS and V4SV are some of the most gorgeous motorcycles Britain has ever produced. Hand-built frames, billet components, and design details that look like jewelry. But unfortunately, their beauty has often been overshadowed by chaos behind the scenes. Early V4SS models were plagued by reliability issues, wiring harnesses that chafed through, fuel tanks that leaked, and even catastrophic engine failures. Add in the fact that Norton went through a very public financial scandal and eventual administration, and getting warranty support turned into a nightmare for many owners. Even today, with the new TVS-backed Norton trying to make things right, parts availability can be slow and repairs are pricey. These bikes are rare and exclusive, which sounds great until you realize it means there are very few technicians experienced enough to work on them properly. And because so many bikes had to be recalled or rebuilt, the market for these is weird. They're both collector's items and cautionary tales at the same time. Owning a Norton V4 is equal parts pride and patience. You get a rolling work of art, but you also get a masterclass in waiting for parts and writing big checks. But if you think Norton was complicated, wait until you see the Italian mad scientists at Bimota and their hub steering Tesi series. Number 3. Bimota Tesi series. Bimota's Tesi series isn't just a motorcycle, it's a mechanical conversation starter. That hub center steering setup is something you'll only see on a handful of bikes in the world, and it makes the Tesi look like it was teleported here from 2050. But riding one is just the start. Keeping it on the road is where the real challenge begins. Because of its ultra-low production numbers, finding a technician who's even familiar with the Tesi's hub center front end is a task on its own. Routine maintenance like steering bearing checks or suspension adjustments can take hours longer than a conventional fork setup simply because everything is packaged so uniquely. Labor rates skyrocket accordingly. Then there's the cost and availability of parts. If you need a replacement component for the hub center steering or bodywork, you're often ordering directly from Italy and waiting weeks, sometimes months, for it to arrive. Shipping alone can make you wince, and custom-fit pieces often come with eye-watering price tags. Even simple jobs like valve checks require major disassembly because of how compact and unconventional the Tesi's layout is. Owners regularly report spending 2 to 3 times what they'd pay on a Ducati or Yamaha for comparable service intervals. And heaven forbid you drop it, repairing bespoke carbon fiber or billet components can make your insurance company cry. Owning a Tesi isn't just about riding, it's about committing to the full boutique experience, bills included. But if you think the Tesi is exclusive, wait until you see Honda's MotoGP bike for the street. Number 2. Honda RC213VS. The Honda RC213VS is as close as you can get to a MGPT bike with a license plate. Every one of these was hand-built in Japan, using the kind of precision and care usually reserved for space probes. But that level of engineering comes at a price, not just the initial $184,000 plus purchase, but the ongoing cost of ownership. This is a bike that demands specialist attention. Valve checks, ECU updates, and gearbox servicing are jobs that can't just be done at your local dealership. Many owners have to ship their bikes to one of a handful of authorized service centers worldwide, adding logistics costs to already astronomical service bills. Even something as simple as a brake fluid flush or coolant change can involve hours of labor thanks to the ultra-compact race-derived packaging. And because so few RC213VS units are actually ridden, parts supply is slow and expensive. Honda never intended these to be daily riders, so keeping one road ready is a feat of dedication. It's not unusual for owners to spend 5 figures on annual maintenance if they actually track the bike, which is why many choose to keep them as living room centerpieces instead of garage regulars. But if you think that's extreme, the Kawasaki Ninja H2R turns maintenance costs up to 11, and that's before you even add boost. Number 1. Kawasaki Ninja H2R. The H2R is an absolute weapon and a parts eater. Supercharger inspections, special filters, and heavy tire and brake wear from all that power add up fast. Street H2S are manageable, but track an H2R and watch your maintenance budget disappear. The Kawasaki Ninja H2R isn't just a motorcycle, it's a physics experiment with a license plate that says, "For closed course use only." This bike produces over 300 horsepower thanks to its supercharger, and that kind of power has a cost. Literally. Supercharger maintenance alone is a big-ticket item. Kawasaki recommends periodic inspections and rebuilds, which can run into thousands depending on how hard you push the bike. You'll also need special high-flow air filters and premium oil at very short intervals to keep everything alive under boost. And let's not forget consumables. The H2R absolutely devours tires and brake pads, sometimes in a single track day, thanks to the immense power and the speeds it's capable of reaching. Chain and sprocket life is equally short when you're putting that much torque through them. Even simple maintenance is expensive because the H2R is a complex, densely packaged bike that takes hours to strip down just to get access to basic components. Labor costs are sky high as a result. Safe to say, the H2R is an absolute weapon and a parts eater. This is not a bike for casual riders or casual wallets. It's a bike for the truly committed or truly wealthy who want to experience warp speed on two wheels and are willing to pay every step of the way to keep it running at full tilt. So before you buy your dream superbike, here's what you need to do. Check the service intervals, whether it's desmo valve checks, timing belts, or supercharger inspections. Know when they're due and what they cost. Ask for proof of major services. Receipts for valve jobs, belt changes, and big-ticket maintenance can save you thousands down the line. Find out parts lead times. Some bikes will sit for weeks waiting for a sensor or gasket to arrive from Italy or Japan. Know your shop situation. These aren't bikes every mechanic can work on. Make sure you have a qualified tech nearby before you buy. Look, owning one of these bikes isn't a bad decision. In fact, it can be one of the most rewarding experiences you'll ever have on two wheels. But they demand respect, discipline, and yes, a fat service budget. Go in with your eyes open, and you'll enjoy the dream instead of living a nightmare. Hey, which of these bikes would you still buy no matter the cost? Tell me in the comments. And if you've ever paid for one of these monster services, drop the number so we can all cry together. Subscribe to Iron Spirit for more insight and more hard truths about life on two wheels. See you in the next one.